Guys, so I'm talking to you today from Mexico because we got to talk about Bitcoin, what's going on there. I hope you're all involved in the crypto space because it is a very exciting space and a very exciting opportunity to gain autonomy over our lives and over our finances. So I want to give you a free heads up what will be happening with Bitcoin throughout the next year or years to come because I want you to get in there, okay? So first of all, I'm showing you the chart of Bitcoin here, right? Because we want to get a little bit of a feeling like what this whole project is about, like how is the energy in general. And I think the first thing that really springs into everybody's eye is the fact that there is a lot of Aquarian energy in the chart of Bitcoin, you know, like the North Node plus 3 planets in Aquarius. It means that Uranus is definitely a very strong planet in his chart, and Uranus rules innovation, revolution, also the tech and the digital world. So we can definitely see that Bitcoin is going to be a revolutionary in this area. Another thing that is interesting is that we got Mars and Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, where Mars is exalted. So it means like the life energy of this project is very strong, like the mass is very strong, and in conjunction with Pluto means it's basically indestructible because Pluto is a regenerative planet, right? It always resurrects again and again. So no matter what happens, like it's almost impossible to destroy this energy, you know, Mars conjunction Pluto. And also we've got the moon in Aries here, which says that this is a pioneering project. You know, Aries is a pioneering energy and it's very forceful and very, very willful. You know, it just like goes out there and takes its space and does whatever it wants to do. It's also a very impulsive energy, which means this project is very susceptible to influences from the inside. It acts very impulsively, reacts very fiery to all kinds of influences, you know. So like sudden spikes and sudden falls are just very normal with Aryan energy in there. All right, so now I want to go through the development of Bitcoin with you. Here is a chart for 2021, the worst case scenario or the best case scenario. Whichever we choose in the end, we will end up somewhere very high. It is just a question if there will be a drop in the middle or not. But in order to understand what's happening here, I want to take you back into the history of Bitcoin, right? And see what's happening here astrologically. Can't see the whole picture now because of my face. No, let's do it differently. Let's move my face. Okay, so right, because first of all, we want to see what kind of planets are important for Bitcoin, what planets influence the movement of the coin. And we already said that Uranus is very important for the chart of Bitcoin. However, there is also Saturn that seems to play a very significant role historically throughout the development of Bitcoin. We can see here when Bitcoin had its very first spike, its very first bull run, it happened because Saturn moved into Capricorn and started conjuncting the planets that Bitcoin has in Capricorn, which are the Sun, the Mars, and the Pluto. So when Saturn conjuncted Pluto, it was when Bitcoin hit its first all-time high. And it was simultaneously when the nodal return of Bitcoin happened. And the nodal return is a moment where the project is pulled very strongly towards its purpose. And Bitcoin's purpose, the North Node, is in Aquarius, so it means to like bring some kind of revolution into the tech scene. So, you know, that was the first strong pull that was supported by Saturn. Before that, we had Neptune coming into a conjunction with Uranus. And at the same time, Chiron leaving a conjunction with Uranus. What this means, Chiron is usually a limiting factor. With Bitcoin, I've seen it. It has never caused crashes. It's just caused stagnation, right? So it couldn't really grow before that because it had a conjunction of Chiron on Uranus. And we already said that Uranus is a really important planet for Bitcoin. Uranus says like how the revolution will go. Chiron sitting on top of Uranus for all this time before 2017 just caused a stagnation, so the revolution couldn't start. And here Neptune came into conjunction with Uranus, so Neptune brings, visions and belief. And when it came in conjunction with Uranus, it brought like public belief in this project, in the revolution. So it started creating this story around the revolution that a lot of people started believing in. It became something like a religion for a lot of people. However, it still didn't spike to its very top here, because apparently Saturn conjuncting its personal planets like Mars and Saturn brought something like a dampening, right? Although here Saturn conjuncting Pluto brought the all-time high, it seems like Bitcoin didn't like Saturn's conjunction to its personal planets. So we want to keep a note of that. That is apparently a sign for a fall. So next picture. 2020. Here it starts to become much more interesting. In 2020, we had Jupiter come and start conjuncting all of Bitcoin's planets in Capricorn, like Pluto, Sun, Mars, and it should have actually been a rise in that moment. However, there wasn't. Now, why? We can see that there is again a conjunction of Chiron to the moon of Bitcoin. And we already saw before that Chiron conjuncting a planet of Bitcoin causes a stagnation. So this somehow prevented the rise, although, this Jupiterian aspect should have brought one, but, there were just like a lot of contrasting aspects in that moment. And we also had another Neptune conjunction Uranus, which brought, this sense of belief in the revolution. However, still, the rise didn't happen all the way until September, right? When the conjunction with the moon finally finished. And also, there was a lot of retrogrades, right? So Venus retrograde, Mars retrograde throughout 2020. Seems like all of them have somehow withheld the final spiking of Bitcoin. And also the halving, like it was very much expected that the halving would end up in a sharp rise. However, the rise only came once Saturn had left the conjunction with Jupiter, right? And he had left the conjunction with Jupiter on 16th of December. At the same time came the Jupiter return of Bitcoin between the 15th and the 18th of December. And if we want to remember, the all-time high came in, I don't have it anymore, came on the 16th of December, right? So Bitcoin hit through the 20,000 and from then on just kept on rising. So the Jupiter return definitely finally could show its whole potential after all these limiting aspects, the retrogrades and the Saturn conjunctions have been over. So it actually has been building up the whole year. This Jupiterian energy wanted to make Bitcoin rise the whole year, but it's been held back by all the other aspects. And then when all the other aspects finally passed, there was, the sharp rise to the top. All right, so do we want to look at 2021? Here we go. That's so. Let's go back here. Okay. All right, let's move my face somewhere here. So 2021. It was very much expected that until February 25th, the Bitcoin would just be rising because we got a lot of Venus conjunctions. So Venus is going and it's touching up on all the planets, it's touching up on Mercury, then up on the North Node, then up on Chiron, up on Neptune, and then on 25th of February, we've got the Venus return. So I think until 25th of February, it's just going to keep rising. However, what's going to happen next? After the 25th of February, we've got a similar scenario like we had in 2020. So there is a couple of Jupiterian aspects that actually should really result in a rise. However, we've got some other aspects that are contradicting this movement. So we've got like a similar vibe like in 2020. Something wants to push, but then another thing is kind of pushing against. So either Bitcoin will fall back down to its last or for second last level of resistance, or it will just stagnate for a while. This is like basically my best case scenario prediction, that there will be something like a mild stagnation, because Jupiter is actually trying to push, but all the squares that Uranus is making to the ascendant and to North Node, which are really important, are not that favorable, right? Until June. So in June, Uranus stops making squares to the important planets and starts making trines. So the trine to the Sun. And finally, in the end of 2021, we've got Saturn conjuncting the North Node of Bitcoin. Saturn usually in the past used to bring something like a halt to the whole Bitcoin sphere, because Saturn does represent regulations and the state, which is basically the opposition of Bitcoin. We can even see that in Bitcoin's chart, which is very interesting. There is an opposition of Saturn and Uranus. Uranus, the revolution, and Saturn, the institution. So it also tells us that Bitcoin is never going to become institutionalized, like never ever, like with this opposition in its chart. So we've got Saturn conjuncting the North Node. Saturn in the past with Bitcoin always used to bring something like a dampening. I feel like this time, like conjuncting the North Node, which is in Aquarius, because it all happens in the sign of Aquarius, which is basically the sign for the revolution and for power to the people and community. Saturn conjuncting the North Node, I feel like, is going to bring something like a recognition of the value of this project from institutions. So maybe big institutions are going to start buying into Bitcoin, which is already happening, but this might be like a new pivotal point, like where this is going to happen to a new degree of magnitude that is going to start causing like a huge spike. So I do believe that Bitcoin is going to hit 100,000 very soon, but I don't believe it's going to be in this year like many are trying to predict. I think it's going to be next year. So when all of this passes, because this unfavorable Uranus aspect make me feel like there is going to be some resistance towards the 100K throughout this year. Because you're a well-positioned Uranus is important in the chart of Bitcoin and the rise of Bitcoin. So once we had this moment between the 1st and 12th of December 2021, we will have a lot of Mars aspects. So basically we're going to have Mars coming up around here. So Mars is right here now. So Mars is going to becoming, sorry, he's not here right now. This transit chart is from 2018. However, right now Mars is somewhere in Taurus, right? And by the beginning of 2022, he will come up here and he will start hitting each and every one of these planets in Bitcoin's charts, right? And Mars always brings energy, like brings a huge push into something. So I think right after we had this Saturn conjunction, all this Mars aspects are going to bring this huge push that is going to result in breaking 100K in 2022. So basically that is my prognosis about Bitcoin, guys. I hope you understood. I hope you like it. If you have any more questions, please write me. Like always, I'm very passionate about this topic and I love to discuss crypto and astrology with you. Obviously, for personal readings, if you want to know the prognosis for other coins, not only Bitcoin, you can book a personal reading with me. I'm very happy to analyze any coin with you and anything from your portfolio. So yeah, just let me know and talk to you soon. Peace out.